He says he wants to change the status quo in the 20th Ward. Kevin Bailey, 27 years old, who used to work for Union Pacific on the Metro Railway, says he gained his values by growing up in a family of preachers. I'm Mike Fouché, publisher of Aldertrack, and this is the Chicago Candidate Series. So tell me, Kevin, why do you want to be alderman?
Well, the entire community of the 20th Ward, we've basically had it as far as bad representation goes. I feel like the ward is going in the wrong direction. We don't have proper representation downtown to speak up on the issues or address the tough issues that plague our community, such as high rates of unemployment and high rates of crime, and just deplorable violence that just plagues the community. So I decided to get involved.
So are you preparing to endorse or work with either Rahm Emanuel or Chuy Garcia in the runoff?
Right now, first we've gotten to this point by basically staying focused on the automatic races. We wanted to stay true to the values and the issues in the 20th Ward. And I think going forward, we need to explore different options.
So an alderman spends a lot of their time worrying about what's going on in the ward. But if you had a citywide issue, what would it be?
I think crime and unemployment is a citywide issue. They're both citywide issues because crime is just it's all over the place. Unemployment, we need economic development throughout the community, jobs, and throughout the city, I mean.
So specifically, is there a thing that you would do to change how crime is addressed in Chicago?
I believe the largest influencers of crimes and the largest victims of crime are between the ages of 14 to 24 years old, which also happens to be the most overlooked population and demographic. In that certain specific area, in a lot of our communities throughout Chicago, we don't have programs that target that demographic. And therefore, they're out in the middle of the streets. They're just doing whatever they find to be valuable. And it usually ends up being something that our parents would tell us not to do. So I think we need to engage that group in positive, value-added activities, and we would curb that crime and also give them employment options in the summertime.
So speaking of employment, how do you make the 63rd Street corridor, how do you make that viable again?
I mean, well, one, we could start off by highlighting what we have in that ward, and we have some wonderful resources. Just from a transportation standpoint, we have two highways, the Dan Ryan and Lakeshore Drive, that are very close in proximity. We have two CTA lines, two metro lines in the ward, and a third one just outside of it. This place is prime real estate for any business to come there for the proper traffic pattern for cars to attract business, great foot traffic for shoppers. It's 20 minutes away from an international airport and 15 minutes from downtown. Like, if we start by displaying what's valuable about the community, I think others will start to take interest. And that's one of the things my campaign has begun to do, to be able to start negotiations in regards to what companies would be willing to come to the 20th Ward in regard to its current state. And a lot of them are talking about the public safety issue being one of the part of the package.
So there's huge portions of the ward that are either derelict buildings or, open fields. There's nothing there anymore.
Absolutely.
What do you do for those places? Do you convert it into parkland? Do you turn it into industrial? Does the use change need to happen? I mean, the 20th Ward is not nearly as well populated as it was 20, 30, 40 years ago.
And unfortunately, with the decisions that the current administration in the 20th Ward is doing, it's displacing even more people. I believe you have to have a holistic approach. You have to look into establishing more stakeholders in the community, home ownership. You have to look at bringing in new businesses, expanding the current industries that are there. Right now, the railroad is expanding. We need to work with them so they're not decimating our community, but enriching it. We need to work with the university as they expand their influence to enrich the community and not displace people. And we need to focus on taking people who are interested in owning homes and working with them so we can find them affordable mortgages or affordable whatever it takes for them to become homeowners and make sure that they're not being taken advantage of or redlined.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight, Kevin.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You can learn more about the Kevin Bailey campaign and 18 other runoff races by subscribing to our email newsletter at aldertrack.com, by following this series on YouTube or by listening to this series on Rivet Radio. Thank you very much. More great stuff to come.